I'll be reading from the Thursday, March 26, 2026 issue of the River Rock Times on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. First, an article named Buffalo Officials Address Safety and Changes at Riverside Meeting. From taxes to new faces dealing with law and order in Buffalo, it was a packed agenda for the March meeting of the Rediscover Riverside Group. Eugenio Russi, appointed deputy mayor in January to oversee police, fire, and emergency services, was joined by Craig Macy, the city's interim police commissioner, to introduce themselves to the organization. Russi comes from a long line of law enforcement, serving 27 years himself, in addition to a brother who served as a police officer, one sister who served as a police captain in New York City, and another sister who worked in the Department of Homeland Security. Additionally, he's the previous executive director of Hispanos Unidos de Buffalo, a community-based organization, and ran a methadone clinic in Allentown for many years. Coming on board, I know that there were complaints. Mostly people thought that there needed to be changes, he said. I've seen, in the short time I've been here, I've seen a department that's really in need of leadership. I think we have a lot of really, really good officers. We have some bad apples, we've got some bad actors, and those will be flushed out. But for the most part, our police officers in the city of Buffalo are very, very dedicated to what they do. They're very professional in the way they handle the job. The same goes for the men and women in the Fire and Emergency Services Department, he said. I really appreciate what they do for us every single day because sometimes we forget that people are putting their lives on the line for us to protect us. Sometimes we lose sight of that fact. He also asked residents, as has become a familiar refrain in these meetings, to call 311 or 911 to report any criminal or suspicious activity. My office is there to take and make sure that we investigate, that we find out people not doing the right things and take action on those individuals and make the department as best as it can be. And the mental health training protection is a priority for officers. Macy, who is still listed as interim commissioner Wednesday night, but was called Commissioner Macy by the mayor at the Broadway Market during an event Saturday morning, addressed a handful of questions, including on the city's Foot Patrol pilot program from last year and the department's stance on mental health and mental distress training for officers. The original contract for the Foot Patrol program ended in January, but funding has been secured to allow it to resume in the summer. We have funding that allows us to be able to have overtime detail from D district or whatever district that it is being discussed, and we still will be doing walking details. That was very successful and well received, so that will still be going on, but not resuming until the weather is better, Macy said. On the competencies of the BPD pertaining to mental health care, he said that every police officer has received initial training on the basic course for mental health awareness since 2017. Another 280 officers have undertaken at least one of 3 additional training courses, each lasting 1 to 3 days, in addition to regular trainings in mental and behavioral health topics. There is a behavioral health team that works during the day as well. They have a clinician embedded with them. We're looking at some other things that we'll be rolling out pretty soon, which should increase our capabilities as police department to address those types of things, he said. This is in addition to wellness training provided to officers to help them deal with any mental health or burnout challenges and stress they feel from their jobs. We as a profession historically maybe don't cope and deal with the things the best. But I can speak firsthand on some of the destructive behaviors I've had from the military or maybe being a young police officer. I think we're doing a better job maybe normalizing or asking for help a little bit more. It's not a big deal if you need to get help, he said. Macy also reiterated that Buffalo police officers are not involved with any activity undertaken by federal agents, including immigration and customs enforcement officers, referencing an executive order from the governor's office that prohibits them from interacting and acting in the capacity of agents to do civil enforcement. Let's take the politics out of it. I don't care what party you're in favor of or what your stance is. We're not doing it. Nobody's coming in. Nobody's making our arrests. We're not going to get involved in that. If there's a criminal element where we can possibly have charges, or if they ask for help, if an ICE officer is getting assaulted, we're going to help them. We will secure the scene and then we're leaving. In other news, North District Council member Joe Gollenbach said he anticipates the City Council will receive the budget proposal from Mayor Sean Ryan on April 15th, even though the state budget will not be finalized by then, so any expected amount of state funding or anticipated deficit amounts will not be solidified. He's anticipating the most controversial item to be the mayor's proposed double-digit tax increase on property tax, in addition to a proposed homestead initiative in which owner-occupied multi-unit homes would face a lower rate, $6.52 per $1,000 value, than a proposed $13.08 for rental units in which the property owner lives in a different location. He said the idea behind that is that we want to soak the rich that own properties in the city of Buffalo. But the problem is that if we end up changing that, a double like mine, literally the tax would double on my property if it was solely a rental unit, with the unintended consequence of landlords increasing their rental rates to make up the difference. Ann McCooey of the Black Rock Riverside Alliance recently met with the city's Office of Strategic Planning about a long list of topics, at the top of which was funding for this splash pad at Riverside Park. She was reassured that the funding provided by then New York State Senator Ryan, a grant of $750,000, was still set aside for the project, and that the request for proposals to secure a contractor for the effort has been sent out. Construction is anticipated to begin this summer, with a new splash pad opening next year. And also on the front page, Schaffer Village leaving apartments empty as renovations move ahead. During the March Believe in Black Rock meeting on March 18th, Black Rock Riverside Association President Ann McCooey said she's noticed boarded up windows at the Schaffer Village apartments on Isabel Street. A lot of the places you see that are boarded up right now in Schaffer Village are because residents have moved out, and rather than put new residents in there only to displace them once changes and renovations start happening, they've just left them unoccupied, she said. Schaffer Village has long been on the to-do list for the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority, which manages the apartment complex, and currently third on the list of priorities as BMHA focuses on other major projects that are already fully funded. Schaffer Village is next on that list once those are farther along, McCooey said. Sharon Lindstedt, a spokesperson for BMHA, confirms that, stating, yes, we've started relocating tenants, and demolition of 4 buildings will happen later this year. We don't currently have a construction or rehab price tag or start date. She added that major efforts aren't likely to start before 2028. We had some changes in the development team, which set us back a bit, Lindstedt said. In addition to demolition, work on financing will be underway. During a meeting last week, the BMHA board approved its annual action plan, which will be submitted to the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. The document includes a lengthy section on Schaffer Village stating, in an effort to complete a comprehensive revitalization plan, an obsolescence analysis has been conducted and determined that demolition of the property is in the best interests of the authority, its residents, and the surrounding neighborhood. No demolition will occur without a relocation and replacement plan that will provide housing for all existing residents in good standing. The first phase of the project will involve converting up to 90 units of existing public housing units to project-based vouchers. The action plan continues. In addition, some of the units will be maintained as public housing in order to contribute capital fund program funds to the transaction. Last June, Alex Carducci, interim president at Bridges Development, an affiliated arm of the BMHA, provided an update on the Schaffer Village project, which will see the number of available units decrease slightly from 233 to 217. At that time, he said the vision for the renovation is to create a walkable community that blends more seamlessly into the surrounding Riverside neighborhood, with an interior loop road, a 3,000 square foot community building and office center, electric vehicle charging stations, 222 off-street parking spots, and 151 on-street parking spots. The proposed reimagined Schaffer Villages will have 41 buildings, mostly 2-story, double, triple, 4, and 5 unit buildings, in addition to 3-story walk-ups in the first phase, with 13 units each, and 3 4-story buildings on Ontario Street with 17 to 34 units in each, with the largest building possibly designated for seniors. And Black Rock Pharmacy wants to offer more services to customers. During the course of their training, would-be pharmacists are taught how to do more than combine medications, decipher doctor handwriting, and fill prescriptions. They're taught to administer tests for illness like strep throat, in addition to providing vaccinations, and to provide health education, including for people in danger of developing or already diagnosed with diabetes. Bradley Arthur, pharmacist and managing partner of Black Rock Pharmacy on Tonawanda Street, wants to do all of that and more. His philosophy is that a pharmacy is a smart place for people to have many of their health care needs met in a quick and efficient manner, not to be a replacement for regular exams by a doctor, but for those times in which getting to a doctor's office or urgent care would still result in a trip to the pharmacy. Physicians have a view of what their scope of practice is, Arthur says, meaning that doctors believe in their responsibilities when it comes to patient care and what services are expected and able to provide in their offices. Nurses have a view of their scope, pharmacists have a view, and so on and so forth. It's not uncommon for these various allied health professions to look across the aisle and say, why don't you stay within your lane? That's not within your scope. Some of it is patient-centered, but a lot of it is economic. Immunizations are a good example, he says. Years ago, if you talk to rank and file doctors about immunizations, they would tell you, yeah, that's in my scope, but I really don't like to do that. It takes a lot of time. I don't really make any money at it. We wouldn't mind if someone else does it. The pharmacist said, wait a minute, we're in the community, we see people, we can talk about the value of vaccinating a community, and we're here and ready to do it. It took more than 15 years to convince the state legislature in New York that this was a good idea, a push that came to be a time and potentially life-saving change when COVID vaccines were first available in early 2021 and hospitals and doctors' offices were overwhelmed with demand. It was also easier for people to get those first COVID vaccines at a local pharmacy because those vaccines required 2 injections 2 weeks apart instead of having to drive long distances or try to make appointments with doctors' offices. It was still challenging, but people had to make it back to that second appointment to complete the cycle, but it was still easier when done in pharmacies. Pharmacies were there, poised and ready to vaccinate people. I think we did a great job, said Arthur, who relied on an old-fashioned calendar to track appointments and call patients to remind them of their appointments. Over the last few years, there have been ongoing conversations about what other services could be provided in neighborhood pharmacies, especially independent ones like Black Rock Pharmacy. Pharmacists are now trained and authorized within their scope of practice to do diabetes education and training. We are currently developing a program to be able to do that. Our pharmacists are getting trained. We'll hold classes where we help to educate people about ways in which they can improve their diabetes management. It's been in development for a while, he says, but he needs to get to programming and the staffing in place before he can begin offering this service, in addition to working out approvals with insurance companies and convincing doctors to support the effort. Pharmacies can be an integral part in keeping people healthy, Arthur says. Providing vaccines helps prevent or lessen illnesses, which keeps people out of the hospital. Helping people better manage their diabetes helps them live healthier lives. Pharmacies in New York State are increasingly being authorized to perform point-of-care tests, he said. For example, if someone feels sick, maybe with a sore throat, the idea is to go to a pharmacy, have a pharmacist perform a strep test, and if it's positive, they can fill an appropriate prescription all in the same visit. It eliminates the need for multiple stops in order to get care needed to make someone feel well again. It also keeps that person out of a doctor's office or out of an urgent care facility, allowing those healthcare professionals to tend to people with more serious conditions. I think everyone is on the same page, Arthur says. When Rite Aid closed all of its locations last year, he and his independent pharmacy colleagues found themselves dealing with what's considered a pharmacy desert, or a situation in which people don't have easy access to prescription drugs and the services provided in such establishments. If you don't drive, if you're not on a public transit line, if you're elderly, if you're being asked to cross town or go from Riverside to North Buffalo, a lot of people don't do that, he said. They end up dropping out of the healthcare system. We've seen a tremendous amount of pharmacy abandonment in the wake of Rite Aid closing. People just checked out. Like other employers, Arthur says his ability to provide more services is in part stymied by staffing. He needs more people to be able to tend to clients and to provide the kind of education and training classes and support clients will need in the future. He points to organizations like neighborhood health centers, a place where people can make appointments for care from birth through older ages, including general physicians, mental health referrals, dental appointments, obstetrics, and other services all in one building. They have a pharmacy program as well, making it the ultimate one-stop shop. On Niagara Street, where you get on the 198, that 1 mile stretch from Forest all the way downtown, Neighborhood Health has 3 different facilities all in the same immediate community. They're trying to take advantage of changes in the healthcare model, and they have everything. They compete with me, and unfortunately we're not competing in the same playing field because they're a federally qualified health center, which means they have not-for-profit status, so they get access to prices and things that I don't. And while they're in competition, Arthur has written letters of support for the organization as they've grown. He praises Joanne Hefner, President and CEO of Neighborhood Health, for her vision and determination. She's bringing services to a community that has been abandoned, for lack of a better word. Still, Arthur hopes to expand his own ability to better care for his clients and his neighborhood. And as optimistic as I can be this late in my career, I am optimistic, he says. I have the next generation, my nephews and my brother, who are likely to continue this place for another 50-plus years. We've been blessed to be in this community for almost 70 years now. I'll be 70 years old in 2029. The only reason we can say that, it'll be 70 years in 2029, and the only reason we can say that, and while we're still here, is because we've evolved. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the River Rock Times on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. An interesting tidbit: study found that Buffalo housing stock is oldest in the U.S. As the spring housing market ramps up, many buyers aren't just facing high prices and mortgage rates, they're also inheriting older homes with higher maintenance costs. A new analysis from Construction Coverage found the median age of U.S. homes has climbed to 43 years, as years of underbuilding continue to reshape the market. The report ranks metros and states with the oldest housing stock, highlighting where buyers are most likely to encounter costly repairs, renovations, and energy inefficiencies. Key takeaways: the data for Buffalo-Cheektowaga area. Aging housing stock in the Buffalo Metro. A typical home in the Buffalo Metro was built in 1958, making it 66 years old, significantly older than the national median of 43 years. Housing stock age ranking. Looking at all U.S. metros, the Buffalo Metro's housing ranks 5th in the country, ranking oldest to newest. Among the 55 large metros specifically, the housing stock ranks number 1. What it means for buyers. Buyers of older homes are much more likely to face higher upkeep costs, potential repairs, and energy inefficiencies compared to newer markets. The oldest homes in Buffalo Metro, 76.6% of homes in the Buffalo Metro were built before 1980, while 29.1% were built before 1940. Homes built before 1940 are nearly 30 times more likely to be in inadequate condition and cost nearly 10 times more in routine maintenance than homes built after 2022. New construction in the Buffalo Metro remains limited. Just 5.4% of homes in the Buffalo Metro area were built since 2010, underscoring the ongoing gap in the new housing development. The full report covers stock data for nearly 400 metros in all 50 states, with breakdown of each location's median home range, median year built, the share of homes built before 1980, the share of homes built before 1940, and the share of homes built since 2010. The full report is available at constructioncoverage.com/research/cities-with-the-oldest homes. And there's a report that New York lost $350 million in unpaid tolls. New York is losing hundreds of millions of dollars from unpaid tolls, according to a report which faults the state for failing to do enough to collect the money from scofflaws evading the cashless toll system. The analysis by the Metropolitan Transit Authority, MTA, found the state's cashless tolling system is owed more than $350 million in unpaid tolls and other related fees, such as fines, which make up more than 90% of the Thruway Authority's operating revenue. In 2025, the MTA's bridges and tunnels carried 340 million vehicles, and tolls generated $2.5 billion the year before, the agency said. While most drivers pay, some deliberately evade tolls, creating revenue losses that impact the entire transit system, the report's authors wrote. Because this funding supports subway, bus, rail, and bridge and tunnel improvements, collecting unpaid tolls is a real priority. The report's authors said a majority of the scofflaws are drivers who intentionally ignore notices about overdue and unpaid toll charges, even after threats of suspending driver's licenses. When these drivers receive their toll bills, they intentionally and repeatedly ignore invoices and violation notices, they wrote. Becoming a persistent toll violator isn't easy. It takes repeated action, disregard for the law, and 3 separate violation notices in a 5-year period. The MTA noted that the state legislature took steps to address the problem by increasing financial penalties for ghost plates that are covered or obscured and cracking down on e-commerce retailers who sell products that block license plates. The agency said it launched a multi-agency task force to remove drivers with ghost plates from New York City roadways and has stepped up other enforcement actions. Those reforms were proposed by a state commission that studied the scope of fare evasion and came up with recommendations to crack down on it. The MTA said the task force has produced results citing more than $60 million in unpaid tolls and fees being collected as of February, with 6,700 vehicles towed and 1,600 arrests for outstanding fines and violations. But the report's authors said because only only 2 of the 5 recommendations have been adopted, the state's efforts to crack down on violators have slowed the growth of toll evasion but not reversed it. The value of the unpaid tolls tied to ghost plates increased from 2022 to 2024, according to the report. Preliminary estimates for the 2025 indicate a slight dip from this $56 million in uncollected tolls, but not a significant decline since new enforcement actions were adopted, the report's authors said. The MTA is urging lawmakers to approve a package of legislation that would enable the MTA to more forcefully address ghost plates use, empower the MTA to pursue PTVs more aggressively, and more effectively collect unpaid tolls from repeat offenders. The agency said the changes, if approved, would provide an overdue benefit to honest drivers whose tolls have been covering for others who cheat the system. And the Dingus Day Run is set for Delaware Park on April 4th. Matt Urban Human Services is hosting a Dingus Day 5K on Saturday, April 4th, a festive run through the Delaware Park in Buffalo. The race begins near the Buffalo Zoo and finishes at Parkside Lodge, where participants will gather for awards, food, music, and celebration. All proceeds support Matt Urban Human Services, a Buffalo-based nonprofit providing housing, supportive services, and hope to individuals and families facing homelessness, poverty, mental illness, and the hardest social and economic challenges in society. The race will be run on USATF certified course number NY23013. It begins near Buffalo Zoo with the after party and awards ceremony taking place at Parkside Lodge, 84 Parkside Avenue. You can learn more at www.urbancenter.org. And a local development corp meeting is April 1st. A regular meeting of the Local Development Corporation, LDC, will advance the development of the Department of Public Works campus will be held on Wednesday, April 1st at 3 p.m. at City Hall, 65 Niagara Circle, Buffalo, in the 9th floor conference room. The meeting will also be streamed live over the internet at teams.microsoft.com/meet. And NOCO administers Empower Plus, offers free energy assessment. An unseasonably cold winter coupled with rising energy costs are catching many consumers off guard as they open their energy bills over the next couple of months. For families already making painful choices between energy, groceries, and other basic needs, this may be another added layer of financial stress. Local full-service energy company NOCO is administering the Empower Plus program to help homeowners determine whether they might be losing energy and options to help address and stop that energy loss to mitigate future utility bills. The Empower Plus program provides eligible low and moderate income households with rebates and incentives to install energy efficient products and cover critical upgrades. NOCO has invested in workforce training to install heat pump, water heaters, insulation, air sealing, and other energy saving measures supported by Empower Plus. In just the past year, they've helped more than 320 households reduce their energy use while creating long-term savings, with often little to no financial outlay for the homeowner. High energy costs touch every one of us, and the energy efficiency is one of the most effective tools to create affordability and resiliency. NOCO also offers free home energy assessments known as an energy audit and provides an evaluation of how your home uses energy, including examining insulation, windows, doors, and heating and cooling systems, as well as checking for air leaks and evaluating lighting and appliances. Homeowners can see where they may be losing energy, along with receiving recommendations on ways to make a difference in their future energy usage and what upgrades may be covered by the Empower Plus program. For more details, you can contact them at 716-833-6626. And finally, in Buffalo Briefs, Ryan issues moratorium on demolition permits. Mayor Sean Ryan issued March 19th an executive order establishing a 60-day moratorium on the issuance of certain demolition permits in the city of Buffalo, effective immediately and lasting until May 18th. During the moratorium, no new permits will be issued for the demolition of principal structures. However, the order includes clear and necessary exceptions to protect public safety and allow for ongoing development activity to continue. Emergency demolition will still be permitted when a building possesses an immediate threat to life, health, or safety as certified by the city officials or ordered by Housing Court. For decades, demolition has been the city's primary response to blight, often at significant cost to taxpayers and at the expense of our housing supply. At a time when we need more housing and construction costs are rising, that approach doesn't meet the moment. The demolition pause gives us the opportunity to take a more strategic look at our policies, ensure we're using the right tools to preserve housing where it makes sense, and align our approach with Buffalo's current and future needs. Over the past 5 years, the city of Buffalo has demolished more than 300 residential structures and multiple commercial buildings at a total cost of nearly $10 million. While property owners are legally responsible for these costs, the city has recovered only a fraction of the total amount, which has left taxpayers with the burden of paying for these demolitions. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 26, 2026 issue of the River Rock Times. We read from the River Rock Times on Tuesdays at 8:30 a.m. Your reader has been Elaine. Thank you for listening.
Good morning. Welcome to another broadcast day in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, a private not-for-profit organization. As always, please feel free to contact us with your comments, suggestions, and any questions you may have. Our phone number here is area code 716-821-5555. As always, please feel free to contact us with your comments, suggestions, or any questions you may have. and please stay with us. Our Ring the Bell News is coming up in just a moment.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or another print disability.